They called it a conspiracy theory, but what if Trump's warning is tied to the most anticipated and feared moment in human history? Have you noticed something strange happening in the sky? Mysterious sounds, lights that weren't there before, changes in the sun, all described thousands of years ago in the Gospel. If these signs are what many believe, we're not talking about decades, maybe not even years. The painful truth is that many are unprepared, but there is still time. Time to align with God, strengthen your faith and prepare for what's coming, because when it happens, there won't be a second chance. Before we dive deeper, if you want to understand the signs, gain clarity on what's happening, and learn how to prepare both spiritually and practically, subscribe to the channel now and hit the notification bell, because every video could be the alert that changes the course of your life. The surprising announcement from Trump that nobody expected. Donald Trump, known for his fiery speeches and unpredictable political strategies, didn't talk about the economy or elections this time. With a serious, almost solemn tone, he dropped a line that left even his allies exchanging puzzled glances. Something in the sky is about to change everything. No one expected to hear this from a former president, especially during an interview on mundane topics. For some, it seemed like just another media stunt. For others, it was a veiled call for something greater, perhaps even spiritual. After all, why risk his credibility with such an enigmatic announcement? Behind the scenes, the conversation takes on a different hue. Close sources claim that Trump received confidential information from astronomers linked to military observatories, something far beyond what the newspapers are willing to publish. It's as if behind the curtains of politics, there exists an urgent concern about signals coming from the heavens. For those familiar with the gospel, the connection to prophecies isn't so distant. The skies have always been a stage for divine revelations. What if this is yet another one of those moments? The intriguing point is the date he mentioned, an almost coded reference. It wasn't chosen at random, and some say it coincides with significant periods in the Jewish and Christian calendars. When talking about God moving the pieces of history, nothing is by chance. It's like a psalm that speaks of the heavens declaring the glory of the Lord. But here, that glory might come alongside an event that will shake not only faith, but the physical world as well. Imagine this scene. You're living your life normally when suddenly a global authority says something in the sky is going to change everything. For those on a spiritual path, this kind of warning cannot be ignored. It's as if Christ is subtly calling for a state of alert. The question is, are we really paying attention, or are we too caught up in our own routines? This kind of statement stirs the motivation of anyone hungry for inspiration and wisdom. It could be the nudge needed to start reading the scriptures again, to say that prayer long left aside, or to seek understanding about what's to come. It's not about politics, it's about discernment. Remember what Jesus said in the gospel? Look to the signs of the times. Well, perhaps we are facing one of those signs. The fact is that behind a simple speech could be one of the greatest spiritual alerts of recent years. And like any good revelation, it starts subtly but has the power to intensify rapidly. Maybe the true meaning of that phrase lies not in what was said, but in what is yet to be revealed. The mysterious object detected by military observatories. Shortly after Trump's declaration, reports began circulating that would keep anyone awake at night. Leaks indicate that military telescopes have captured an unusual celestial body. It's not a planet, it's not an asteroid, and it doesn't fit any known classifications. Its trajectory, curiously, appears deliberate, as if it's following a predefined course. This is where our spiritual antennas go up. What if this object is part of a larger plan, something God determined centuries ago? Internal sources claim that the phenomenon is accelerating, not slowly, as one would expect from a distant body, but at an almost unsettling pace. This strange acceleration recalls biblical passages that speak of sudden signs in the sky before the great and terrible day of the Lord. No wonder gospel scholars are revisiting ancient texts, seeking inspiration and wisdom to understand what this means. It's interesting to see how the heavens have always been used as a backdrop for divine messages since ancient times. A classic example is the star that guided the Magi to Christ's birth. If a celestial sign marked the beginning of a new era back then, could another sign now be heralding its climax? An alert like this invites prayer, asking for discernment so we do not fall into the trap of indifference. Some insiders suggest this celestial body may be linked to ancient prophecies that many prefer to ignore. Just as a psalm reminds us that the Lord establishes the heavens by His word, perhaps we are witnessing a literal fulfillment of this truth. It's impossible not to wonder if the military is paying such close attention, and if such information reaches world leaders, how long will it be before all of us know what's really happening? While official science remains silent, a spiritual buzz is growing. People are gathering to study, pray, and seek motivation in light of what may be a prelude to greater events. The mere fact that something so unusual is crossing our skies would be enough to spark curiosity. But when that something seems to have direction and purpose, we enter the realm of the supernatural. What if this object isn't just passing through, but coming with a specific mission? The Bible speaks of signs that precede sudden events, and this could very well be one of them. Everything indicates that what it brings with it is even more unsettling than its very presence. Quick pause. If this part is already opening your eyes, comment below "I am vigilant" to confirm that you are paying attention to the signs. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do so now. Biblical connections that are leaving prophecy experts alarmed. When documents and reports began suggesting this celestial body could be tied to ancient prophecies, biblical scholars immediately turned their eyes to forgotten texts. The book of Joel, for instance, describes signs in the sky and on the earth before the great and terrible day of the Lord. Revelation, in turn, speaks of falling stars, opened heavens, and lights announcing Christ's return. Coincidence? Perhaps. But for those attuned to the gospel, coincidences like this are often signs in disguise. Theologians have been revisiting manuscripts and ancient translations, cross-referencing data with current astronomical maps. In some cases, they've found disturbing details: planetary alignments, festive dates in the Jewish calendar, and even poetic descriptions of phenomena that, to the modern eye, closely resemble real astronomical events. And all of this converges to the same point. The time is being fulfilled. Biblical wisdom reminds us that the heavens declare the glory of God, but they also warn about what is to come. This intersection between science and faith isn't new. At Jesus' birth, astronomers, called magi, interpreted the appearance of a star as a divine marker. Today, something similar seems to be happening, and many believe we are witnessing the fulfillment of another promise: the return of the Son of Man. This should be enough motivation to rekindle the flame of prayer and solidify our spiritual footing. There's also a very strong emotional factor at play. For some, these ancient texts have always been mere metaphors, but when the signs align so precisely, it's as if God is calling us to see beyond the obvious. As a psalm says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." The problem is that many prefer the comfort of distraction over the discomfort of preparation. These experts aren't speaking in vague interpretations. They cite verses, present calculations, and show charts of planetary positioning. The seriousness with which they approach the topic is impressive. Some even say that, just like in Christ's parables, only those who are vigilant will perceive the true dimensions of what is happening. This isn't about fear, it's about being ready. But the scriptures don't stop at describing celestial signs. They also speak of natural events and changes in the very structure of the universe, setting the stage for something even more radical. The strange change in the sun's brightness recorded in recent weeks. Recent reports from satellites and solar observatories have brought unsettling data. The sun, our primary source of light and warmth, has exhibited sharp fluctuations in brightness. Something that hasn't happened at this intensity in decades. These variations are not just scientific curiosities. For many gospel scholars, they may be part of a prophetic scenario. After all, biblical passages speak of the sun darkening an unusual phenomena in the sky before Christ's return. Some scientists speculate that the mysterious celestial body detected by military observatories might be influencing the solar electromagnetic field. And if that's true, we're looking at a chain reaction that could affect communications, climate, and even the stability of entire ecosystems. It's impossible not to remember the trumpets described in Revelation, where cosmic phenomena mark the beginning of supernatural events. For those with spiritual wisdom, it's not an exaggeration to think we are being warned. Imagine waking up one day and noticing that the sunlight is no longer the same. That morning feels less vibrant, or that sunset becomes unusually golden or reddish. These small details, which many would ignore, could signal that something much larger is happening. It's in these moments that the motivation to seek God and engage in daily prayer becomes urgent, for it is through these acts that we maintain peace amid uncertainty. In real life, we've seen similar events serve as spiritual triggers. During historic eclipses, for example, many communities turned to the inspiration of the scriptures, remembering that the Lord is my light and my salvation, as a psalm says. The difference now is that we're not talking about a calendar-predicted event, but an unexpected and growing phenomenon. The emotional impact of this is enormous. Knowing that something as constant as the sun can change is, in itself, destabilizing. But for the attentive Christian, it's also a reminder that not even the most powerful forces of nature are outside of God's control. If He is allowing these changes, it's because there is a purpose. And that purpose, according to many scholars, is closer than we think. But as if this solar alteration weren't enough, there's a planetary alignment set to occur in the coming days that promises to intensify everything already set in motion. The planetary alignment expected in the coming days. Independent astronomers and biblical prophecy scholars agree. In the coming days, a rare planetary configuration will take shape in the sky. It's the kind of event that occurs only every few thousand years, and this time it coincides with calculations and interpretations made from the Gospel and the book of Revelation. Many believe this alignment could be the cosmic password for the start of events that will change history. It's impossible not to recall that in the Bible, the heavens have always been used by God as a clock and a sign for humanity. The visual beauty of this phenomenon should not deceive. While for some it will be just an astronomical spectacle, for others it will be a prophetic landmark. It's as if the sky is painting before our eyes the fulfillment of ancient promises. Remember how the Star of Bethlehem marked Christ's birth? Now perhaps we are witnessing signs pointing to His return. This should ignite an immediate motivation within us to pray, study, and prepare spiritually. Imagine looking up at the sky and realizing that what the prophets wrote is happening in your own lifetime. For those seeking inspiration and wisdom, it's a time to ask, what if it's now? Am I ready? Questions like these aren't meant to instill fear, but to awaken awareness. And awareness leads to action, whether it's resuming scripture reading, increasing prayer time, or sharing with others what is about to happen. Some scholars have already noted that this alignment coincides with significant biblical feasts on the Jewish calendar, such as the Feast of Trumpets or Tabernacles. In various passages, psalms, and prophetic writings, these dates are mentioned as turning points in the spiritual history of God's people. This reinforces the idea that none of this is by chance. There are also reports of groups already organizing to observe and document the phenomenon, not just as a scientific event, but as a spiritual milestone. It's a mix of telescopes and open Bibles, where science and faith meet at a decisive point. The moment calls for discernment, for the alignment to many is not the end, but the beginning of an irreversible sequence. And curiously, some sources claim that high-ranking individuals are already moving quietly to strategic locations, as if they know something big is about to happen. The secret group. Moving silently in the US, internal sources have begun to reveal something that sounds like a movie script, but according to those who've seen it, it's pure reality. A group composed of religious leaders, scientists, and high-ranking political figures is said to be meeting in discreet locations, away from cameras and public scrutiny. And interestingly, these meetings don't revolve around the economy, elections, or diplomatic crises, but around a possible celestial and spiritual event that, according to their analyses, could radically change the world order. The detail that stands out the most is Trump's presence at least once in these meetings. This further reinforces the connection between his enigmatic announcement and what this group seems to know. For those who live in tune with the gospel, it's not hard to see biblical parallels here. Christ warned us about times when the kings of the earth would gather, often without the public's knowledge, to deliberate on events that would affect everyone. These movements are not random. Reports of the transportation of advanced technological equipment have emerged, as well as studies involving star maps and astronomical calculations. An informant described that on the tables there are both telescopes and computers, as well as open Bibles in prophetic books like Joel, Daniel, and Revelation. It's as if science and faith are being used side by side to decipher what is to come. For those with spiritual wisdom, this serves as a warning. After all, if powerful and knowledgeable people are taking the possibility of an event of this magnitude seriously, why shouldn't we do the same? This may be the moment to seek inspiration in the Word, intensify prayer, and renew motivation to align life with God's will. As a psalm reminds us, "Blessed is the one who fears the Lord and walks in his ways." What's most intriguing is that everything is happening quietly, without official announcements. The public remains distracted, caught up in everyday problems, while this group seems to be several steps ahead in understanding the signs. And this raises the question, what do they already know that we don't? And according to some sources, the next step of these meetings is directly linked to a mysterious sound phenomenon that has already begun to be heard in various parts of the world. Before we proceed, comment now. Thank you, Father, if you are grateful to be receiving this alert today. And make sure to activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next step of this revelation. The mysterious sounds being recorded in the sky across various countries. In different regions of the world, from remote villages to major metropolises, people have paused their routines to try to understand an intriguing phenomenon. Deep, metallic, prolonged sounds echoing from the sky. Witnesses describe it as if trumpets are sounding for minutes without a visible source. Recordings are multiplying on social media, and even those attempting a purely scientific explanation admit the resemblance to the trumpets of Revelation is uncomfortably real. Scientists propose hypotheses such as movements in the Earth's crust or atmospheric resonances, Yet nothing seems to explain why these sounds are emerging in such different locations, yet sound so similar. For those familiar with the gospel, it's impossible not to recall the biblical descriptions of audible signs that precede decisive moments. It's as if all of creation is announcing that something is about to happen. These sounds stir a sense of urgency and timeliness. Imagine walking to work or shopping and suddenly hearing a sound that seems to come from all sides at once. It's in these moments that the motivation to seek inspiration in the scriptures and engage in prayer becomes almost instinctive. A psalm reminds us that the voice of the Lord is powerful, the voice of the Lord is full of majesty. People report that after hearing these sounds, they feel a spiritual restlessness that's difficult to explain. Some return to faith after years of being distant, while others begin to research more about prophecies and celestial signs. It seems that invisibly God is using these events to awaken dormant hearts. Interestingly, this is happening regardless of religion or culture, as if it's a global call. Some suggest that the sounds are not just isolated signs, but part of a sequence of intensifying events. What if these trumpets are the prelude to something visible, something that, like the sounds, no one will be able to ignore? After all, the Bible speaks not only of hearing, but also of seeing signs in the heavens, and some assert that this has already begun to happen. Because, according to reports, along with these sounds, an unknown light has emerged in the night sky, and it's getting brighter each day. The unknown light growing in the night sky. Amateurs and professional astronomers agree there's a bright point in the sky that doesn't appear on official star maps. Initially, it seemed like just another distant, unassuming star. But as nights pass, its brightness has steadily increased, and now it pulses like a beacon. Many observers report feeling something different when gazing at it, as if that light carries a silent message. For those familiar with the gospel, it's not hard to associate it with the passage in Matthew about the sign of the Son of Man appearing in the heavens. What's most curious is the position of this light. It coincides with coordinates mentioned in studies of prophecies and planetary alignments. Some say it could be a comet, others a new star. But there are theologians who see a deeper meaning, a visible reminder that God fulfills his promises. Just as at Christ's birth, when a star guided the Magi, perhaps now we are witnessing the foretelling of an even greater encounter. For those seeking motivation and wisdom, observing this light could be more than an astronomical curiosity. It could be an invitation to reflection and prayer. And I'm not talking about praying out of fear, but seeking discernment, asking the Holy Spirit to reveal what is to come. After all, the Bible is full of moments where the heavens served as a canvas for divine messages. There are already records of groups gathering at night, with telescopes and Bibles, to study this light and compare it with biblical passages. It's a scene that blends science and faith, technology and spirituality. As a psalm puts it, the Lord wraps himself in light as with a garment. And perhaps, just perhaps, we are seeing a reflection of that right now, before our very eyes. The constant increase in brightness is what intrigues even the most skeptical. It's as if we are witnessing a rising that is not of the sun, but of something entirely different. The light seems alive, pulsating, as if waiting for the right moment to fully reveal itself. And for many, this is proof that we are on a countdown to something grand. And according to Trump's own words, this light will mark the beginning of a moment that will have no return. The final warning: when you see this, prepare yourselves. In a recent interview, Donald Trump spoke with a conviction that caught the attention even of his fiercest critics. You will see, when you see this light, you will know it's time to prepare. It wasn't just a throwaway line. He said it as someone who carries knowledge that he cannot fully reveal. For those reading the Gospel, it's impossible not to recall Jesus' words, "Watch and pray, for you do not know the day or the hour." Trump's tone echoed distant prophetic warnings, igniting heated debates. Some claim he's just stirring controversy. Others believe he knows something real and imminent. In any case, the call to vigilance is clear. It's time to reignite the motivation to strengthen faith, seek inspiration in the Word, and draw closer to God through prayer. Prophecy experts assert that this statement cannot be ignored, as it aligns with verses and signs that have been accumulating over the past months. A psalm states that those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. Being spiritually firm now could make all the difference in what's to come. What's intriguing is, who told him this? Were they military astronomers, influential theologians, or was it information passed along in secret meetings like those mentioned earlier? Regardless of the source, the alert remains the same. Prepare yourselves. And preparing doesn't mean stockpiling food or running to a bunker. It means aligning your heart with Christ and being spiritually ready for any scenario. This preparation involves more than just biblical knowledge. It requires posture and constant vigilance. It's like the parable of the 10 virgins, where only the wise ones had enough oil to keep their lamp burning when the bridegroom arrived. What if this light in the sky is the sign that the bridegroom is approaching, but the signs don't end here? Because, according to many, the last element of this equation isn't something we'll see in the sky, but rather something that will be felt on earth in an instant that will change everything. The immediate impact that could change everything in the blink of an eye. If all the pieces fit together, the mysterious celestial body, the planetary alignment, the solar fluctuations, the trumpets in the sky, and the growing light, then the next event won't be gradual. It will be sudden, like the snap of a finger. The Bible describes this moment precisely. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For those familiar with the gospel, this is the perfect picture of the rapture. Many are already living as if they are in a silent countdown. It's not about panic, but about preparation. The motivation comes from the certainty that God fulfills his promises and that Christ will return at the right time. For some scholars, that time may be closer than we realize. As a psalm declares, "The Lord will come to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with his faithfulness." Imagine being at work, driving, or chatting with a friend, and in an instant, everything changes. An invisible yet absolute separation. One will be taken, the other left. There won't be time to organize life or correct what's been pending. That's why preparation isn't optional, it's urgent. And this urgency is a daily invitation to prayer, to seeking wisdom, and to spiritual strengthening. For some, this sounds like fiction, but it's worth remembering that throughout history, prophesied events in the Bible have occurred exactly as described, even centuries after they were written. This should serve as inspiration to take seriously every sign we are witnessing now. Ignoring them won't make them disappear. On the contrary, it may catch us off guard. The most impactful realization is that when it happens, there won't be any official announcements or visible countdowns. It will be instantaneous. That's why living aligned with Christ now is the only way to ensure we will be ready. And as Jesus himself said, "When you see all these things, know that it is near at the doors." And when that moment arrives, there will be no turning back. Now that you know all these signs, let me ask you, will you continue living as if nothing is happening? Or will you use this motivation to seek more wisdom, draw closer to God, and align your life with what the gospel reveals? Do you believe these events are merely coincidences? Or are we witnessing before our eyes what the prophets announced centuries ago? If the moment were to arrive today, would you be ready to meet Christ? The decision is yours, and time may be shorter than we think. So don't wait. Restart your spiritual journey now, intensify your prayer, dive into the scriptures, and live as someone who understands the urgency of the time we are in. If you want to continue receiving alerts, biblical studies, and analyses about these signs, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any content and will stay prepared for what lies ahead.